All right, we are here for another episode of Internal Budget. Welcome back, everybody. Brandon Mackey, staff writer for silver7cents.com. And for some reason, we're doing this again. Matt Bosty's back on the show. Man, it's been a weird week, hasn't it? In Sens land, some crazy stuff has gone on. The discourse is maybe higher than ever. Why don't we start from the beginning? First of all, how are you, man?
Hey, not bad. It's a balmy 16 degrees over in my West End Ottawa abode. It's yeah, exactly. A little bit of sun going on that you can see in my disgusting pile that I call a bedroom in a basement.
Hovel.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. It's homey. I feel right here. My trash takes, and I can just lay in my pile of trash back there. Ron Hainsey looking out for me. It's a good place.
This is a good place. I love it. Man, why don't we get right into it? You and I, it seems like it's becoming a yearly ritual now where we talk about how scorching the takes are after the NHL draft and after who the Senators pick. I think we did it again this year. So what were your opinions on the Tyler Boucher pick at 10th overall? I'm dropping a quarter that I was fiddling with for some reason. And yeah, Bosty podcasts are always professional. But give me your thoughts on the Tyler Boucher pick and the discourse around the young man who the Senators selected at number 10.
Well, as a super smart hockey person, I definitely knew a lot about Tyler Boucher before he was drafted. And I thought, no, I had no clue who Tyler Boucher was. I saw him at a list around 40, 45. Didn't really think twice about him. I knew he was the son of Brian Boucher. Shocked. Well, we were on Sense Talks podcast when it happened, and we were all just like, what's going on here? Because there was some real talent left on the board. So like Lysell, who was picked right after too?
Lucius, and then
Lucius
and Sillinger, and
Sillinger was who I thought I'd have to be like, okay, you know what, he makes sense.
I thought he was Boucher. Their guy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a son of an NHL player, kind of gritty, kind of good
center.
Yeah, that's the other weird part. But Tyler Boucher came out, and then I read some draft bio, and then it clicked. As soon as I read some of the bios around him, he seemed exactly like what DJ Smith likes. Yeah. And what really would, well, basically, if he turns out to what we hope he does, having him as a second line threat when Brady's on the first line or something like that, that is just relentless. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine trying to defend not even a power play? You're hemmed in your zone. The forward slides out. Tired Brady Tkachuk is on the bench, and then friggin' Tyler Boucher comes out and he just balls over four people as you're in the zone for a minute and a half. Now, I'm not saying Ottawa's hemming anyone in the zone. Right. Like, that's a couple of years around, but like, it makes a lot of sense what's going on. But it was surprising to say the least. What about you? What was your first thought when you heard Tyler Boucher's name?
My first thought was, did I hear that right? No, and again, not a knock on Tyler Boucher, but I mean, we spent an hour talking about all the guys we thought they might take from Jesper Wallstedt to Cole Sillinger to Sebastian Cossa to Chaz Lucius. And Tyler Boucher was not a name that came up one time. It wasn't a name that came up one time in anything I wrote or anything that us at Silver 7 wrote about the draft and the Senators' 10th overall pick, maybe in the second round. But to take that kind of leap on the kid, at the time I viewed it as kind of a risk. But in seeing the way that he's responded to being injured and the way he's bounced back at the World Junior Showcase, looks pretty good. I was listening to actually the Athletic Hockey Show this morning, and it was Max Bultman and Corey Pronman talking about the kind of draft retrospective, and the thing they literally led off with was the Tyler Boucher pick because of what a surprise it was. Pronman said that he sees Boucher being a kind of below average NHL skater. I mean, I don't know if I see that. I like his first step a lot. He seems explosive. And the way he hits, that guy's a freight train out there. Like, we're talking physically could probably push for a spot in Ottawa next year, like this coming season.
He looks full grown times 10.
He's a
when
you
look at him
man.
Out there on the showcase, he's like a foot taller than everyone else, and just kind of just making everyone know that.
Yeah, he's a monster, and even if he's not, he plays like he is, right? Like, it's just unbelievable. And you're right. I think it expresses a lot of faith in DJ Smith's vision of the team. People were calling it a Pierre Maguire pick. Like, do you really think Pierre Maguire had any input on the draft after he's been in the job for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Pierre Maguire, I think, probably took a look over and gave his thoughts, but
Yeah,
man had this pick probably circled since February. Like he
probably
is,
since longer than that, right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, absolutely, and especially right now too during COVID junior time where there's barely anything going on.
no OHL.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's way too early to try and say it's anyone's pick. It was who the draft team decided was what we should target,
Mm-hmm.
and they had an inkling that he wouldn't be there in the second round. So they made their choice, and you gotta respect that. But you can also say, hey, what
Well,
about Jasper Wallstad or Kosa or stuff like that?
Well, you got to believe that after the Rangers just traded for Ryan Reeves, that they were taking Tyler Boucher at 16.
Oh,
Like,
with the news coming out too, like
yeah,
right after it's like that was circled on the Rangers draft board as well.
for sure. And
Yeah.
and it sounded like, by all indications from people within the Ottawa media landscape, that Dylan Guenther was Ottawa's guy at 10.
Yeah.
And then the Coyotes took him off the board, the pick right before. So I
Screw
mean,
you, friggin' Vancouver.
yeah,
Yeah, couldn't you have kept your pick and then picked someone weird? Come on.
no, I mean, like it's funny, like, is it shitty to lose out on a player like Dylan Guenther? Like, probably. I mean, he's to add another scoring right winger to this team would be a little more than beneficial, I would say. But I really like having Tyler Boucher. Like, I think he's going to be a really good fit. If you look at the right side of the future, you got Connor Brown locked in for a few more years. You've got Batherson on the top line. You've got Igor Sokolov coming. Austin Watson. Like, you got some monsters on that right side. Like, even forget Watson, who's a tough dude. If you run Batherson, who's no slouch, he's a big boy. If you run Connor Brown, who can hold his own, you run Sokolov, who's just a bear, and then you run Tyler Boucher, who's a bull. Like, I'm coming up with a lot of animal analogies here, but like it fits, right? Like, I think one of the scouts on Boucher said, "Can I just compare him to a rhino?" Like, I love
But you
that,
watch him
right?
at that showcase. That's what he's doing. He is just, he sees something, he goes for it. Anyone in his way is getting bowled over. It's going to take a while for him to kind of translate that into the NHL, which is why I'm also pumped he's a Boston. He's
BU.
agreed to go to
Yeah.
BU because I think that's going to be great for his development. I think that if he does some schooling too, or gets some, I don't know. I always have a preference for these players that aren't just only hockey all the time, every day, forever. Like going back to Zdeno Chara, who had so much passion outside of hockey. It was so easy to root for him. And I think it does help with that kind of the on ice thing. Now, that's no knock on players that don't have, I don't want to say hobbies because they all have hobbies, but like they don't have like another outlet. But when I see a player go through the university system or the college system, I usually am more excited than to think they're playing another year in the O.
Well, there's another prominent Ottawa Senators winger that played at BU too, right? So
Whomst.
I believe that was
could have been.
another draft pick that was a subject of controversy, if I do remember correctly.
What a day. Like I don't know about you, but I used to get really kind of like, oh, I really hope we don't pick someone dumb.
Brother, I threw my hat across the room when they drafted Tkachuk. I'm dead serious. I hucked my hat across the room like an idiot. Like, it was stupid.
Loved it. I don't remember where I was for Tkachuk. I wasn't. I feel bad because there was a draft party going, and I hear my boy Joe got really mad and stood on a table or something like that and yelled. But Joe gets mad at everything and yells. So it's a good time. He got mad at me at a hockey draft once because he picked Carey Price over Erik Karlsson back when Karlsson was in his prime, and I was unrelenting, and he swore quite a bit at me. It was a good time. It was in a Boston pizza, baby. It was the best
pizza.
Yeah, we did a. So I don't know if you know Sensfeld on Twitter, but he tweeted at Boston Pizza once, and they're like made a dumb joke, and they gave him $100 gift card. So he's like, "Well, all right, let's go have a hockey draft at Boston Pizza." It was a good time. And then friggin' Joe, like second overall, Carey Price. Erik Karlsson sitting right there, 65 points. Yeah, that's right, Joe. Swear at me again, I dare you.
Oh my God. So we've gone from Tyler Boucher to Joe and a Boston Pizza almost physically assaulting you.
He blocked me on Twitter that day too. And like I have known Joe for like a good 20 years. Like me and Joe go way, way, way back. So that was I knew that I had won that day.
Oh my God. So I guess that's a good time to bring up the rest of the picks.
Yeah.
Ben Roger was another one in the second round. Look, Zach Ostapchuk, I think people were calling that one a reach. I love that pick. Big physical center, all kinds of skill. Like, I don't know what people are saying if they don't like that pick, to be honest with you.
Well, I think back to Logan Brown, who he's had a storied time with Ottawa, which might not be the best person to compare, but I remember reading the draft profile on Logan Brown and getting so pumped. A 6'5", good skating, good hand center. That doesn't come along often, and when they do, they're dominant. And then we get another crack at one.
Yeah.
And his highlights, like these aren't just like, oh, you know what, he could do a deke. He is gliding in his giant bod, just friggin' getting around whoever and popping these goals. It's wild to see, because I'm like, I say I'm 6 foot, but I'm really 5'11" and a half, and I'm awkward walking. So these people who have like 8 inches on me on ice can do this stuff blows my mind. So
yeah, and it's not a Mark Kastelik thing too, where he's like an overager, and like he's probably gonna have a lower ceiling, right? Like, kid can play.
Oh well, and what was it that his coach said? I can't remember the direct quote, but it was something like, "Oh no, I knew he was going in the second round."
Yeah, I think
he was just, he's like, people don't realize the talent this guy has. And that when coaches are always going to gas up your own players, of course. Mm-hmm. But I hadn't read a quote where it's just like, no, this guy's going to surprise.
Yeah.
Be happy.
He and Carson Latimer seem like guys that the Senators might really have found something in. Like, I saw a few scouts saying, like, if you're looking for the best skater in the draft, it might be Carson Latimer. In the fourth round where Ottawa got him. And as a young player, he put up 16 points in his first 22 WHL games. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at, right?
That's not bad at all.
How fun is the WHL going to be this year with this new broadcast contract with TSN and CBC? You're getting pro broadcasts, and not only that, but you have Ridley Gregg, Zach Ostapchuk, and Carson Latimer playing against each other. That is going to be just a blast. That has to be so much fun.
Oh, I'm pumped for it. But I want to just quick circle back too, is Ottawa has had such great luck. And I don't even know if I want to say it's luck, but when they find a player that has one category where they're elite at, is harnessing it. Like, take a look at Formanton, who honestly, out of last year when Formanton went down for injury, he was the most impactful injury that I had seen. He had single-handedly made our penalty killer force.
Oh yeah.
And that's amazing. And I think that's the way that Trent Mann kind of wants to draft in these later rounds. I guess in the second round it's different, but he finds these players that have these skill sets and he kind of brings it out. And maybe there's a little bit of an element of luck to it, but you can even go way back to pre-man with Mark Stone, who amazing hockey IQ, all right hands, bad skating at the time. He developed into Mark friggin' Stone. Yeah. And I know he's not the rule. He's the exception to the rule. Mm-hmm. But it's clear that this is something that Ottawa looks to do in some of these different picks. These picks that might go against the grain and go against the consensus, they have different plans for it. And until I see a consistent string of failures, like, I'm not saying every pick's going to be good all the time or anything like that, but until I see like 2 or 3 blown drafts, I'm gonna at least give him a chance in the system before I get mad.
Yeah, and that was one of the knocks on Formanton too, right? He was sort of the opposite of Stone, where they thought it was all flash, no finish. Like, he could skate, he just couldn't finish. And we showed this year, like, he could finish. Like, he scored on a few breakaways that were just gorgeous. There's that one where he danced around the entire Canadians team, and just, oh man, it was a beautiful goal.
It was, considering he's our third line winger with a specialty on penalty kill. And this was his first real season time in the NHL. Wasn't even a full season.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I watched one game of Belleville at the beginning of the year. Like, the first Belleville game I watched Alex Formanton. I'm like, oh, this dude's in the NHL soon. Like
why is he here?
Like, they could call him up tomorrow, like, he was head and shoulders the best player on that team. And granted, they were a weaker team this year. They didn't have Batherson. They didn't have Norris. They didn't have Brandstrom for a ton of the year. Mm-hmm. And the way he stood out was unbelievable. It really was him and Sokolov, who, that guy, like, in his first year. Are you kidding me?
Igor might be the only other Sen to immediately make everyone kind of shut up. other than Brady Tkachuk. Because what was it? It was 2 games before Brady like popped a goal in by like knocking it with his butt past the goalie or something like that. And everyone's like, oh no, Brady's the best. What were we thinking being angry online? But it was like Igor. Everyone was like, oh yeah, he can score, but he's an overager. What's the point in this? And then it's just like, oh yeah, he's fantastic. First year, like weird COVID time, short training camp where the B-Sens were, I don't want to say hot garbage, but like clearly they
weren't very good.
Exactly. They had a big hill to climb, and he was just looking dominant every time he was on the ice.
Yeah.
Love that guy too. Also just content machine.
Yeah. Have you seen, shout out to Sens Talk, who's obviously a friend of the show. He just scored a big interview with Igor, where Igor said the air fryer is a game changer. And I have to give my endorsement to that. Maybe we'll call Igor the air fryer because he's a game changer too.
Hell yeah. Ooh, that's not bad.
Brandon marketing, hire me.
Who's the sous vide?
The sous vide.
Who's the sous vide of the Senators? Come on.
I don't know.
All right, please tweet at me who you think the sous vide of the Senators is. Is it Michael Del Zotto? Is he our sous vide? Take a little while to cook?
Jesus. In any case, I mean, it's tough with this year's draft because we can't really pontificate too much about a lot of these prospects because we haven't seen any of them play. Ben Roger didn't play last year. Been some indications that he's got some seriously high upside. People in London rave about him. They raved about his offseason. They raved about his size and the way he uses his reach and the way he plays angles.
He was injured too coming in, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he had an injury or an illness at the end of the season. So he had like an extra long off season or something like that.
Well, he didn't play because he's in the O, right?
Yeah, but even like last season, he didn't finish the O.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I know he only played 35 games, but I think that was due to him being young.
Okay.
Because young players don't historically play in London.
Yeah.
If you're not really playing games until you're 17, 18 in London. But yeah, so I mean, even him, like that's another guy who's probably got some upside, but we're gonna have to wait and see. There were some brief highlights from a showcase that he went to, the Flow Hockey PBHH Invitational, I think it was, and he looked good. He had a good shot. I mean, he was using his size well. Looked like a man among boys. So I mean, hopefully another solid addition to the Senators' blue line, but that really spilled into what's been going on with free agency and with the trades that have happened.
Wild.
Yeah, let's talk the Evgeny Dadonov trade because, and let me say, I have been captain of the SS. Don't trade Evgeny Dadonov and don't expose Evgeny Dadonov. But that trade was a home run. Like I had to read it a few times. If you look at Nick Holden, a lot of people knock him because he didn't play a ton in Vegas this year, but it was for
salary cap. Yeah,
exactly. It was cap gymnastics to kind of keep him on the taxi squad. But he can play. His underlying metrics are perennially really good. He's a really solid stay-at-home defender with some two-way upside, actually. Like he can score some goals.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Looked really good in the playoffs, and to get a third-round pick too, and you're dumping $5 million on a cash-strapped Vegas team.
Like I don't think Dadonov got a lot of hate in Ottawa that I think was a little misplaced, especially because he ended up being this weird odd person out. He was going to be playing on top line, but you can't break up Brady, Norris, and Batherson. They clicked from the get-go.
Batherson kicked the door down this year. He really
absolutely
did.
He said, no, I'm here. This is my spot. Beat me for it. You're not gonna. Right. And then our second line too with Stützle and kind of there was a rotation there. He played, I think, a little bit there, but he never got time to build up chemistry. Yeah. So he kind of got the short end of the stick where he wasn't placed with our most well, I guess actually he played a lot with Connor Brown for a little bit, I think. Maybe not. I can't remember. Feels like 10,000 years ago.
Stützle?
I last watched. No, Dadonov.
No, because they're both right side.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, exactly. So Connor Brown also jumped him with his crazy season. And I thought he looked good with Nick Paul. I thought that, it was Nick Paul, White, and Dadonov. They got a good thing going, but then Dadonov got a little injured. The chemistry kind of fell apart, and he was just the odd one out.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he's going to pop 25 goals for Vegas, and I think he's going to look great there, and I wish him all the best. But like you said, we got a third round while dumping $11 million still on Vegas, who how can they keep getting away with getting these players?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not doing they're crazy. And we also got Nick Holden, who I think was the exact perfect signing that the Ottawa has had, or trade that Ottawa has done for the defense in the last 3 years. This is who they wanted. when they signed Hainsey and when they signed Goodbranson. This
Yeah.
was who they should. This kind of player is who they're targeting.
And they
Instead
got
of
better
these,
returns and gave up less.
I don't understand. He's also being paid way less than Ron Hainsey was.
Yeah.
Like Ron Hainsey made like 4 million or 3 point whatever in his last season. That was wild. I don't think he was horrible. I'm glad he had a good locker room presence and all that. But like,
Yeah.
what's going on, y'all? And I think that he's going to fit in very well for the Senators. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I have some questions about what they're gonna do with all these guys now. What is it? They have 8 NHL defenders and 5 lefties right now, and there's no way they're rolling into camp that way. I mean, Pierre Dorian can talk about all they want about how you can't have enough defensemen, but come on, somebody's getting moved out here. And what screams that to me is the signing of Michael Del Zotto. That one caught me off guard because as is, this team, it's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right? And I think that's a fair way to characterize the Ottawa Senators. And I was really high after the Holden trade, really liked it. Didn't get the Del Zotto trade signing. I thought there were probably better uses for that $2 million a year and a 2-year deal too. Like that, I especially
that was
don't
the
understand.
weird part.
Maybe they had to give him the extra year of term to get him here, but even then, like but it screams to me that somebody's getting moved out, and I don't know if it's RFA Victor Mete. I don't know if it's Eric Brandstrom.
For the value,
my gut tells me, and I don't know how I feel about this. They're making a swing for a center. I don't know if it's Jack Eichel. I mean, historically, Ottawa being Ottawa, probably not. But you got to wonder at this point, right? Like the
fact that Eichel hasn't been moved as well, I think, is every moment that Eichel hasn't been moved is more likely Ottawa is making a play for him. Look
at the centers that have gone, right? Mikael Granlund got signed. Seattle's got their centers. Pius Suter, Detroit snapped him up quickly. You got to wonder, right? Like, I mean, if you're Ottawa, am I giving up Eric Brandstrom in a Jack Eichel trade? For sure. And like, I love Eric Brandstrom. You know that. Like, I'm really high on this player. But I mean, like, we've heard rumblings out of Buffalo about what the Sabres are asking and how teams might not want to reach that price, especially if they can't look at Eichel's medical records. So, what I'm thinking is this, and I'm probably dead wrong, but if
that's the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. But if you give up your 2021 first and you give up Eric Brandstrom and you maybe give up, I don't know. I don't even know if you need to give up a Shane Pinto. You give up a Ridley Gregg, you give up another first rounder, and you still have 2 second rounders next year and 3 third rounders to throw in as sweeteners. Does that get it done? Maybe the Sabres want 4 first round pieces, right? Like that's what we've heard. So Brandstrom, boom, first round piece, boom, first round pick. Ridley Gregg, first round picks. If the Sabres get to a point where this is the other thing, and you got to look at the Wild have backed out now, and they were supposed to be a major player, and
the Rangers can't do it anymore.
Rangers can't do it anymore. LA can't do it anymore. They just picked up Phil Deneau. Vegas maybe, but they just added Evgeny Dadonov for $5 million. Like.
Like I could see there's a couple of sleeper picks I could see trying to do something. I could see Philly maybe making a play out of that, but they'd have to move some stuff around as well. Ottawa is in a very small handful of teams that can make this work. And part of me, I love every single one of these players so much. Like I'm a harsh critic of Eric Brandstrom just because I think he's letting himself get outplayed. Not that he's getting outplayed. I think that his confidence is low and he needs to build that up. But I still love this player. Like I might complain about it, but I still think he has superstar potential, and it's just going to take him a few years to get there. That's all it's going to be. But take a look at the centers in the NHL right now. Like if you think about it, there's like 4 out of the NHL that make a lot of sense for Ottawa, and Jack Eichel is number 1 on that list.
Yeah,
he is a young player. Leadership, although that's come into question on Buffalo, but Buffalo's a curse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get out of here. Leadership quality. He is not the I'm only skilled. I'm never gonna. Hey, he'll barrel you over. he's an American, which is what we're kind of building our players around, is this new kind of brand of American hockey. And he wants out of his team. Like I'm a little higher on, or I really like Hurdle as well out of San Jose. I think he'd be a fantastic person to try and target, but I don't know if he'd be as jazzed to be traded.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Eichel, yeah, you know what? Ottawa is probably not number one on his list, but he can look up and down this Ottawa lineup and he can know that there's a lot more in place than Buffalo's hodgepodge chaos and hating of playing there sort of thing.
We know Ottawa hasn't historically been lauded as a desirable destination for marquee players, but you're telling me he's not looking at Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle and maybe even a guy like Batherson and Shabbat on the blue line and
Josh Norris behind him too.
Norris behind him.
That's a pretty
Pinto
nice
behind them. A wealth of goalie prospects, and you're telling me he's not thinking about it? Like I don't know, man. Like Ottawa's Ottawa. We know this, but I don't know. Well, and Yost had an interesting tweet the other day where he said Ottawa has a lot of cap room. Like they're dangerous. They're lurking in the shadows or something like that. And I love that.
I'm waiting though.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when it's too quiet, right? Like I'm not.
The shoe hasn't dropped for Ottawa.
No, and that's what's interesting.
We did 2 mild signings in Del Zotto and acquiring Holden, and then a bunch of AHL. I don't care if you're happy with your core or whatever. You're going to add a couple of players because we need a couple of players. The depth isn't there for an 82 game season for Ottawa. Yeah. There are coals in the fire that Pierres are probably tending to right now, and there's one of them that's holding everything up. And I think absolutely it's Jack Eichel. I think the Senators want to see what's going to happen with Jack Eichel. And if Jack Eichel doesn't work, we can we'll look at Hurdle, we'll look at Strome, and we can look at Dvorak as options afterwards, because there is no denying Ottawa needs another center. Because what happens when a center of ours gets injured? Because there will be games. Who's our number one center in Belleville right now? I don't know.
No, it's probably a guy like Kastelik or an AHL veteran, right? Like
really not bad, but that's not who you want to be calling up.
No,
for these situations.
And the other part of the equation too is we've established that Josh Norris is probably a 60, 70 point guy when he hits his prime.
Yeah.
Is that the guy you want going toe to toe with Austin Matthews? He's done a great job. Defensively, yes.
He's done a great job.
But you need the guy who's going to put up those points. Like if you can get a Jack Eichel who's probably a 100-point player, holy smokes, is that team going to be something, right? Like, I mean, and it's like I said, right? And you can play around with it. You can keep Norris and Tkachuk together. Like imagine Eichel on a line with Stützle. Like my God.
I tried to think on Buffalo, who was his best winger that
Taylor
he's
Hall.
Played with? Oh,
Taylor Hall, and he was never healthy for it.
They never worked. They legit never worked together. But outside of Taylor Hall, like when he was healthy and playing, is it Middlestat?
Probably. And Middlestat started off as a center.
And I got no qualms with him. I think he's a fine player. But that is not Brady Tkachuk.
No.
Like you don't think that Jack Eichel isn't going to have fun with Brady Tkachuk in front of a net, pushing people around so that he has space to play?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a no-brainer. Jack, you want a chicken? I'll buy you a chicken. If that's all you need to come here, it won't even be Swiss Chalet. It'll be like, I don't know about Baton Rouge, but like, I get you something all right.
And for the record, I don't think either of us are suggesting that Jack Eichel is going to come to Ottawa and that it's going to happen. But you've got to think about how this has all been pitched to the fans over this past spring and summer. You had Eugene Melnick, in no uncertain terms, go into the media multiple times and express his desire for a number one center.
Yep.
There is one number one center out there right now that's on the market, folks. And it's not Ryan Strome. It's not Christian Dvorak. It's not Nazem Kadri. It's Jack Eichel.
And those players are good.
Right.
I like those players.
But they're not
Jack Eichel.
They're not Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel's a top 5 center in the league when he's healthy. Ottawa, I'm wondering if they have concerns about his health. I mean, I would too. Like if you're not letting me look at his medicals, I'm going, and you want my top prospects, like go to lunch. That's what I would say. I tell Pierre Dorian, tell him to go to lunch. But no, it just feels it feels almost weird enough to be true, you know? And like,
well, this is the Matt Duchene situation all over again too. Well, not the player. Let's not talk about what happened there. I'm just talking about the lead up. Ottawa was in on Matt Duchene over and over and over, and
for years,
for at least a year and a half to 2 years, and never. And it was like, no, pipe dream. Ottawa will never pony up to make a trade for this.
I remember when it happened. Yeah, like it's.
He left his game, the ice midway through a Avalanche game.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Duchene, he was really good after that really tough rough first stretch. Oh my God, was he ever good? He was like a point a game player.
That cursed season of 2018? 2019.
No, 2018.
No, because 2018. Well, we got him in 2018, but it was the year after.
But I would say 2018 was the cursed season because that's when everything fell apart.
True, very
Hoffman,
true.
Carlson, like.
But 2019, it was like the exclamation point where everyone there was nothing left. But he was the best, highest skilled, most dynamic player. Hard to hammer Mark Stone since Jason Spezza in his prime.
Yep.
And looking at centers only, absolutely. And I think that if you would put that season of Duchene versus 2007, 2008 Jason Spezza, it would have been hard for them to know who was the number one center because they were both so much better than the rest of the team.
Yeah. And it's not even close. They've like the number 3 guy on that list is probably Kyle Turris, maybe Mike Fisher in his prime.
If we go way back, we could probably pick out someone in the 90s and be like in context.
But I mean, like since Spezza, right? Like
it's like Pajot is I think like our fifth or something. And that's no hating on Pajot. He's amazing, but he should never be in your franchise's discussions for top center.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Not offensive center anyway. But
exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, it's weird to kind of pontificate about this whole Eichel thing because it does seem like so far out of reach. But when you think about who has the assets and who has the cap room and who has the ambition where it's like just crazy enough to do it, like Ottawa's got a wily owner, a management group that is not afraid to take big swings.
And you want to talk about coming back from COVID? You want to talk about your first game with fans and Jack Eichel is your on the ice? Like I remember the draft with Jack Eichel. Well, one because Tim Murray put his foot in his mouth so friggin' hard. Yes. But Jack Eichel was only a second overall pick because Connor McDavid was the number 1 pick. You put him up there. Yeah, we can look at Austin Matthews, and maybe I'm just biased against Austin Matthews, but I think Austin Matthews has been handed a golden apple in Toronto. He didn't have to work hard or go through any of the growing pains. That all happened beforehand. Jack Eichel is doing this, and I think that if you had swapped the names here, I think Jack Eichel has every single point that Austin Matthews has in Toronto if he was drafted on that point.
Guaranteed.
So I think he is probably the best draft pick since 2015. Like if you would go outside of Connor McDavid and maybe Austin Matthews for like who has gone number 1 overall. He would beat out the other number 1 overalls is what I'm trying to say in my really bad way of discussing.
Yeah, no, I would give it to McDavid. I mean, you got to go to McKinnon too, right? Like
right, yeah. Right. Well, McKinnon, was he like what? When was he drafted?
2014, I think.
Yeah, I see. I said 2015. So
my bad, my fault.
The 2013. He's ancient.
Oh yeah, he's old now. He's an old dog. But no, yeah.
Oh God, he's 25. I'm so old.
But no, I think you're spot on. I think Eichel deserves to be mentioned in that class with Matthews and McDavid. And again, like just something about it keeps gnawing at me. You know, like it's just
why hasn't it happened yet?
Right. And I think like under ordinary circumstances, I would be like, whatever. But this year being as weird as it was, with the owner being as crazy as he is, and with Minnesota and LA and those other teams kind of backing down, there, you know, and even the Bruins, like the Bruins have $2 million in cap room right now. Like they were a team who was rumored to be at least kicking tires on Eichel at the beginning. Again, I don't know who has the cap room. I don't know who has the assets that they're willing to part with. Like if you're Ottawa, and this may not be a popular opinion, Eric Brandstrom and Shane Pinto are going out the door if Jack Eichel's coming back. Like,
And that breaks my heart because I love both of these players. Like
yes,
last year, cheering for Pinto during
he's
every single
phenomenal,
no
but
deck.
he's not Jack Eichel.
Amazing, exactly. And like he's not. You can't keep everyone. You
No,
can't keep everyone, and especially with the prospects that we have,
yeah,
some of them we've seen this happen on other teams. They want the enhanced role. Like Pinto, if Ottawa gets a Jack Eichel, he's going to be a third line center for years and years and years.
yep,
And that's no knock on that. I think he could be an elite third line center, but when you think about like Columbus or someone like that who could give him a enhanced role, he might want to walk on his first UFA just so that he can play a lead role on a game. So
yeah.
you can't keep them all.
Yeah,
But I love them all.
Logan Brown and Vitaly Abramov is not going to do it, folks. So, but if it's, excuse me, if it's Eric Brandstrom and it's Shane Pinto and it's 2 first-round picks all day, day. You know what I mean? Like there's not even a debate. Like,
I'm so tired of our first round picks, not because like we're doing bad with them. I love them, but it's just like I would love for an NHL draft to come up and for me to not care.
yeah,
Like either it's a late pick and it's like whatever, or we've traded away to get some star.
yeah.
I want that so bad.
And the other thing too is like, and I've seen this sentiment among Sens fans, like you've seen other teams take this swing. The Leafs went out and they got John Tavares. The Bruins went out and got Taylor Hall this year. They didn't pay a hell of a lot, but they got Taylor Hall. Like
Vegas,
Mark Stone,
it there, but
Pietrangelo,
yeah, exactly.
right? Like,
and they're gonna waltz to first in their div this season too.
They're the best team in the league, and they just got word that Alex Tuch is out 6 months. That just came across my phone.
Ooh, so that's a little bit of money.
Yeah, so they're missing Alex Tuch now, and there's for 6 months, and they're still going to be the best team in the league. They won't have Alex Tuch till the new year, and they're still going to be the best team in the league. So, like, and I get it. Like, as an Ottawa fan, like, it's got to be tough. Like, you want to see your team take those swings and be good. The one time you did it, it was Duchesne, and it blew up. Hasek,
you still make that trade.
You still make that trade.
Like, that's what I hate is people talking about this. Okay, we had a decade of Sens fans complaining that we would never make the moves. We would just kind of middle about. We'd be a bubble team, and then we made a big swing at Matt Duchesne, and it didn't work out because everything turned to we were kissed by a witch. The team was cursed. There was nothing coming out of it.
And it's revisionist history because everyone at the time loved that trade. I loved that trade because I
even if I know how Matt Duchesne works out, I would still do that trade because I understand that in a vacuum, it should be a lot better than it is.
And look at the way Kyle Turris turned out after that trade too, right? Like, I mean,
it is hilarious that out of those 3 players, the only player that worked out for the team was Girard. Yeah. Like, it is absolutely hilarious that it was like 15 different picks. Bo
Byram's working out okay.
Who is that? I don't know who that is. Doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination.
Okay, but still, would you rather have Bo Byram or Brady Tkachuk?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which, remember when we didn't give up that draft pick?
Yeah.
Oh, people were
yeah, because they didn't give it up, and then they took Tkachuk, and nobody understood. And it's like, now I get it. But I remember Ottawa had the next year. Ottawa had the best overall chances of landing Jack Hughes for Colorado, and Colorado fell to 4th, and I'll never forget that look on Joe Sakic's face.
And it was amazing too because TSN accidentally leaked, or I can't remember who accidentally leaked the draft picks ahead of time.
Sportsnet,
it was Sportsnet. It was Sportsnet. I was out at the Sir John A. pub in Ottawa. Maybe they'll sponsor me. And it came up, and
it would go better than a lot of other restaurant sponsorships in Ottawa. Let's say that.
Hummus get the hummus plate. It's delicious. But yeah, we went there with a bunch of Sens Twitter, and that came out, and we died. Not just like we were hooting and hollering. It was like 6:45 or 7:15 on like a Wednesday night on Elgin Street in Ottawa, and it was just a bunch of dumb Sens Twitter people just going crazy that Colorado dropped the 4th.
That's amazing. That's
loved it.
Funny. But the larger point is that Ottawa took that swing. It didn't work, but I mean, any arguments to the contrary are revisionist history. Like, in a normal year, Ottawa probably finishes, let's say, 4th or 5th in the East. Like maybe even 5th, just being conservative. They make the playoffs. They win a round or two. Do they win the cup? I don't know. Washington was pretty strong that year. Vegas was pretty strong that year, but nobody's questioning that trade. That's the bottom line, right? Like, and that's the thing. The way Turris turned out, nobody's sweating losing a 1st round pick. No, they don't. They don't land Brady Tkachuk, and things kind of don't work out that way. But so maybe everything happens for a reason. But
It would be very fun to have Jack Eichel on the Ottawa Senators, and it would be even more fun not to play against Jack Eichel as the Ottawa Senators. Think about it like that. You're removing a player of another team.
Can you imagine how motivated he would be playing the Buffalo Sabres 4 times a year?
That's my biggest fear, that we might end up having to overpay, is just because it is an in-division trade. But if they're not getting the options otherwise, just do it. And they're not in the position where they really need to care for the next 4 years.
No,
they have squandered their rebuild 3 different times, that they have to do a burn it down. Agreed. They can't retool. They have to do a burn it down. As soon as Ryan O'Reilly left, they had to cut bait on every single player and rebuild it.
Yeah, totally agree. So they're doomed, but either way. But no, I hope Ottawa lands Jack Eichel. I don't see it happening, but something about it, I keep going back to it. And I think that's strange, but I'm into it. So, you had kind of pitched a little segment that you wanted to do here. We called it 90-50-10.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea. So the basic premise, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're going to make some predictions. One we're 90% sure of, one we're 50% sure of, one we're 10% sure of for the upcoming Ottawa Senators season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. So you being the guest, why don't you take the wheel, buddy?
So I am going to say, let's go for Senators. We can maybe branch out. I was going to do some research and come up with these ahead of time, but no, we're seat of our pants today. Let's go.
Silly goose time.
So 90-50-10, I think there's a 90% chance that this season Brady Tkachuk will break 25 goals, because he hasn't yet, right? I'm trying to think. He's done like 21. I think there's a 90% chance he's going to pot 25 to 30 goals. I think there's a 50% chance that Batherson is going to score 30 goals. And then I think it's a 10% chance that we're going to have a crazy out of nowhere Igor Sokolov popping 20 goals as he makes the camp out of the roster. I think he could. I just don't think he'll have the game time to do that. So that's my my first 90-50-10.
I love it. Only 50 for Batherson?
Only 50. Yeah, I think Baffy could do 20 to 25 no problem, which is where I put down for Brady for the 90%, but yeah, exactly. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong.
All right.
Okay. 50%. It either happens or it doesn't. That's how it works.
I like it. So I'm going to say 90% chance Josh Norris scores 30 goals.
Ooh.
Spicy. We're going right off the bat.
Are you sure he's not our number one center?
Yeah, maybe.
Jack who? No.
Jack who? I am going to say 50% chance that the Ottawa Senators make the playoffs in 2022. Ooh. And 10% chance.
50%.
50%.
Okay.
And 10% chance that they make a trade for Jack Eichel.
I like it. Also covering your bases for our 20 minutes of Jack Eichel love.
Got
to be like, only a 10% chance.
Yeah. What about I still predicted it. I said there was a chance.
You're right. That's exactly it. That's the beauty of this game. We are right or we're wrong. And we can be like, we said 10%, you dum-dums. Get out of here. I want to do a goalie one.
I was going to say, let's do a goalie one.
Do a goalie one. I say
Screw
90%.
Locked On Sens. We're the goalie-friendly show.
90% chance that Gus plays 15 games, starts 15 games for Ottawa. Even with Forsberg, that's my pick there. I'm saying a 50% chance that Gus ends with the highest save percentage out of all of our goalies. And I have a 10% chance that Forsberg ends up playing the most games out of Ottawa. I'm not saying a word about Murray because I have no clue how he's going to end up, even at 10%. I'm hoping. I think he out of everyone on Ottawa is primed for the biggest bounce back season.
Yep.
He's got a year off, a year to get used to this team, a new goalie coach, and he can come in so fresh, so good. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm not saying a word about him, even at 10%. All about Gus.
All right. I'm going to say 90% chance Matt Murray breaks 50 starts.
Ooh, whoa!
I don't
50 starts.
I don't love it, but I think it's going to happen. I'm going to say 50% chance that Philip Gustafsson establishes himself as the de facto number 2. I don't think and that's not a knock on Forsberg. I just think there's a chance that they let Gustafsson cook in Belleville, and there's a chance that they give him some serious NHL leash. And if that's the case, I think Murray will start more games that way too. So that kind of plays one or the other. 10% chance, and maybe it should be higher after the season we just watched,
Mm-hmm.
but 10% chance we get to see Matt Sogard start at least one game in Ottawa this year.
The very first game. A little bit of Matt O'Connor. Let's go.
Take it easy on Coach Cameron. Come on.
I felt bad for. I don't think he deserved that criticism for Matt O'Connor too. I thought
it's terrible.
It was mean.
I mean, he shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have started Matt O'Connor for the home opener. But no, like in all seriousness, there was some logic to it. Like O'Connor was hot. You ride the hot hand. Like the way he was portrayed was unfair.
Yeah,
and you're 100% right.
Hey, you know who Matt O'Connor played with?
Who did Matt O'Connor play with?
Jack Eichel. Full circle. Let's go.
First full circle,
I guess.
So why don't we do one geared towards the young players? So we're talking Stützle, we're talking Formanton, we're talking Sokolov, we're talking Bernard Docker, Pinto. Let's do that.
Okay.
Not quite rookies, I guess, but young players.
90% chance that that Bernard Docker plays under 15 games in Ottawa. I'm even gonna go under 10 games. I think they want him, especially with the signings we did. I think they want him to own Belleville. I think they want him to have a full year. And I thought he was okay in his little tryout with Ottawa last year, but he didn't blow me away. It wasn't
didn't get much of a look either, right?
Yeah, exactly. 50% chance for me that Shane Pinto will end up getting top line time. Ooh. And that's not like, this is excluding an injury to Norris.
Okay.
I think Shane Pinto is going to have such a hot streak in the middle of the season that they're going to put him up on the top line and put Norris down on the second for a little bit just to see how it works.
I like it.
And I think that could work great too, as well.
Yeah.
Or they push Jack Eichel. No. And then I have a 10% chance. I don't want to do another Sokolov one just because I already did them. Let's think. 10% chance that Sanderson comes in and I don't want to put up points. I'm trying to think.
The schedule is tight.
I know.
At the end of their season, like
there. 10% chance that Sanderson comes in and is dominant in our first round playoff season for the Sens.
Ooh,
there we go. I'm doing two. I'm getting the Sens in the playoffs, and Sanderson looks like the best defender in the series, or top two defender in the series.
Burying the lead.
That's why I'm going to go with that one.
I love it.
Did you see Sandy's goal and play today in the?
Oh my God!
But like, consider the fact that we've been gushing about the young Sens players, and we did not even mention Sanderson.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, you don't even have to at this point. Like, it's just the expectation, right?
Beauty.
Okay, so I'm going to say 90% chance Tim Stützle hits 50 points.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. I was thinking maybe 60, but that's a lot. Even for a guy like Stützle in his second year, that's a lot. So, and I don't know who's going to be centering him. That's the other thing. So we'll say 50. 50% chance that Shane Pinto plays the bulk of the season in Belleville. I think I think they're gonna not be as eager to play him in Ottawa as they are letting on. I think a big reason they want to acquire another center is they can let him cook down there if they have to. Okay. You can bring a Clark Bishop up to play fourth line minutes, Colin White play second line, whatever, or third line for that matter. 10% chance that Igor Sokolov breaks, I'll say 8 games in Ottawa.
Okay.
I think they're going to leave him down there to really dominate in Belleville. I think they want to see what he can do because as good as his season was this year, it was a stunted, weird Canadian team only campaign. I think, maybe they want to get a look at Pinto and Sokolov kind of pairing in Belleville. Bernard Docker on the blue line, Lassie Thompson on the blue line. Like, some nice things are starting to happen there, I think. So I think they're going to take their time with both those kids.
Reminds me a little bit of Mark Stone too. They gave him some extra time down in Belleville when he could have pushed for a slot just so that he could come out polished and beautiful.
Yeah, there's no need to push him just for the sake of it. I mean, you extended Troy Mann for a reason. You want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's. I'm gonna look at it for more of like a full NHL.
Okay, I'm down.
So I'm gonna go a 90% chance that a Canadian team makes a he gave me such a look at Canadian team makes a conference finals, and then I'm gonna do a 50% chance that team is Calgary, and then I'm gonna do a 10% chance. Then I'm gonna do a 10% chance that team is Toronto, because I need to roast the Leafs a little bit there.
You had to get it in there.
Had to get him in.
Okay, we're doing broader NHL. Let me think.
Yeah.
Okay. 90% chance that the Colorado Avalanche are in the Final Four. I'm gonna say that. Don't know if they're going all the way.
Oh, they are.
But yeah. You think?
They're
We've
Tampa
thought that
too.
the last 3 years.
They're Tampa too. Remember when Tampa
too.
flared out early in the playoffs and then won 2 cups in a row? That's Colorado.
True. Yeah. Where's Colorado's Vasilevsky?
Who did they sign?
Kemper. They traded for Kemper first round.
Yeah, so much. What the
lot.
hell?
Well,
Crazy.
they have no goalie. They have no goalie.
They had to. They had to.
You're a team with Stanley Cup ambitions. You have no goalie. 50% chance Seattle Kraken make playoffs.
Ooh.
And I'll say, you know what? No, I'm gonna bump that up. 50% chance they win a round.
Hell yeah.
Playoffs. And 10% chance. This one's tough because I'm gonna say 10% chance that the Florida Panthers make the Final Four.
Why so low though?
You know what? 10% chance they're in the final.
There we go. I'll take that.
10% chance they're in the final because I think they got good this offseason.
And
like,
the East got worse.
The
There's
East
like a couple of okay players or teams like Boston, I think got a little bit better.
No. Let me stop you there. So here's the thing with Boston. Yes, they lost Krejci.
We don't know if they've lost him yet.
Yes, they did. He committed today. He's going back to the Czech Republic.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, well, all right.
Second, Rask is not going to be under contract probably until some point in 2022. And they don't know if he's coming back at all. But they still got a really good goaltender in Linus Ullmark. And Jeremy Swayman proved himself more than capable this year. So you got a good goaltending tandem. And what they added at their forward depth, given their cap constrictions, was unbelievable. You've added Nick Foligno. You've added Eric Haula. And you added Tomas Nosek, who has taken a lot of criticism, but as a fourth liner, you're going to be okay.
They've got Hall to commit
on a sweetheart contract, making $6 million a year.
Driven. You don't sign that contract unless you want to play. Like there was so many knocks on him in Buffalo, which was BS.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't work out there because it's Buffalo. But you don't sign that unless you think that you have a chance for the cup. Mm-hmm. And that you are going to play your damn heart out. So I think that is huge for Buffalo.
Your top 6 now is Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, Hall, probably Charlie Coyle, and then Craig Smith. And Craig Smith was the most underrated player in hockey last year. His metrics defensively were incredible. Charlie Coyle's a second-line center and a good one at that. We saw that in the 2019 playoffs. He's a terrific player. And Taylor Hall's Taylor Hall. Yep. Now your bottom 6, you've got some combination of they're probably going to trade Jake DeBrusk and get a good defenseman for him, I think. Now you've got Nick Foligno down there. You already had Charlie Wagner down there. You've got players like Curtis Lazar, who was excellent in a fourth line role with Boston. I really like what they added to their bottom 6. I have questions about their blue line, but that's really the only thing that gives me pause. And even then, you still got Grzelcyk, you still got McAvoy, you still got Carlo. They got to stay healthy. That's the big thing. Adding Derek Forbort, I think, is huge. It's going to make things a little tougher on opposing teams in front of the net. Maybe take less liberties on Bruins in the corners, like we saw with Carlo how many times. And Kevin Miller, my heart goes out to him. He got his career ended by that Orlov hit. So I think that the Bruins are going to be very good. And I know I went off on a tangent there, but you're right. Teams in the East did get worse. Montreal got way worse, I think.
Horrible.
They lost to I mean, Savard's a good addition. But
Rangers is who I thought they were going to be pushing to make the playoffs this year, and they've done weird stuff.
Chris Drury's gone in a whole different direction.
The Buchnevich trade, I think, was really bad as well. I think they're slow. I think they could still make the playoffs, but I think that they undid a lot of good work that was done.
Yeah, that was done by Jeff Gordon and John Davidson. I totally
absolutely
agree. But yeah, I mean, even the Leafs, I don't know
if they didn't do anything.
Yeah, like they kind of stay level. I don't know what they do. They'll probably be good in the regular season, but in that division,
they could win a couple of rounds. I don't know. You watch them and they have no flair. They have no excitement. They're a team of cardboard, and a good team of cardboard, but that's not what gets it done in the playoffs.
No, I would totally agree with that.
The Islanders, Parise is rumored there. I don't think that's a game changer. Their cap is hurt. I think that they'll be top they'll push for top 4 again, but I can't see them beating Florida, Tampa, or Boston in a
Right.
best of 7 in the conference finals.
Right. I'd have to agree, man. That was fun. We got to do more of
Yeah.
that 90-50-10 at some point. Like, that was a good
Yeah.
time. That was interesting. The hot takes come out.
It was good because both you and I are exhausted.
Yes.
We had 0 prep on that, even though we had like a week to kind of think about it. But instead, we're like, yeah, seat of our pants.
I'm so tired that I'm seeing pink elephants on my wall right now.
A Ron Hainsey jersey.
A Ron Hainsey jersey on my wall.
Oh, that was a good time. That was a good time.
That was a blast, brother. Thank you for doing it. Tell the people where they can find you, even though they probably shouldn't do it for their own mental well-being.
Twitter, whatever. Go find me. I don't care.
Wherever you see a thread there that doesn't warrant Matt Bosty jumping in, he will be there. Whenever you see someone having overly strong draft takes, Matt Bosty will be there. Whenever you see someone posting charts, Matt Bosty will be there.
Unless I like the chart.
Unless he likes the chart. That's
then I ignore it and I'm just like, that's a good chart.
That's a good chart.
Good chart.
Folks, thank you for listening. Make sure you like the podcast, share it with your friends, download, subscribe, rate 5 stars, all those fun things. Goes a long way. Follow Bosty. He's a hilarious dude and a good one. I must be really tired if I'm saying that. But that's going to be it for this episode of Internal Budget. We will see you for another one next week. Take care.